Hello, and welcome to this stream this evening. Question straight away from Reese there. I got an ad, question mark. Yes. Unless you are a subscriber, as in you have a subscription, you will get an ad when the stream starts. Yes, that's my understanding. If you were to create a subscription, then that would allow you to not get those ads. Now that can be if you have Amazon Prime, that you get like a free subscription as part of your Amazon Prime. You could use that, or there's a way that you can opt in to subscribe to this channel. I know I've done that with my. I have Amazon Prime, so I use my subscription for the Jeff Fritz channel, and I give him my subscription so I don't get ads when I watch his channel. But yeah, my understanding is that you will always get ads at the start of the stream, but I don't watch my own stream, so I can't really testify to that exactly. But I know I have on other channels, yes. Okay, so the purpose of tonight is I want to spend some time writing some Ruby code. Now, I want to make it clear. You also sound like a bit like you're in an empty room. Really? Well, that doesn't sound good. I'm guessing not in a good way, Maurice. Is it? There's nothing really different from my side, other than my heater isn't on, whereas it normally would be. So it could be that. Is it still listenable too, or should I be doing something to change it? What are your thoughts? No, on my side. What is it, as in it's not? You can't really listen to me on your side? What does that mean? I'm going to wait for a response from Maurice before carrying on. Got a new. Oh, okay, so let's go with that. Let's go with the fact that it's your audio driver that's causing problems. Okay, so tonight's stream is going to be a little bit different. Oh, thank you very much, Dev. Matthias he's subscribing for a second month. Thank you very much, Matthias. I appreciate it. Tonight's stream is going to be a little bit different. It's a little bit different because normally I just have one VM up and running. And tonight I've got 3, and I'm making life more difficult for me. So this one that you're looking at here, that I realize I need to make the font a little bit bigger on, is a Chef workstation. So it has all of the Chef development SDK and things installed on it, right? So that's what this one is. This one over here, which again I realize I need to make it a little bit bigger on. This one is essentially a blank VM that has nothing on it. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have Chocolatey on it. So if I go up here and try and install Chocolatey or run Chocolatey, it's not there, right? So this is my test VM. And then I have another one, which is this little black box here, which I'm not going to click into because if I click into it, then I can't get out of it. My keyboard won't come out. That's what I spent the last 10 minutes trying to get my keyboard to come back out of the VM. It stole it and it won't come out again. So I'm not going to click onto it. But this is an Ubuntu server that has the Chef server installed on it, right? Yep, I tried all combinations. I did Control All, I did Shift Control All, I did Windows All. I was hammering every key on my keyboard, and none of it was working. So I don't know if it was a Synergy thing because I'm on my Mac. Synergy through to the Windows machine. I don't know, but I ended up at the command line typing reboot and hitting that, and VirtualBox eventually gave me my mouse back. So that's how I got out of it. Okay, so the point of what I'm hoping to do tonight is I want to write some Ruby code, some resources, or rather, I want to modify an existing resource for Chef, specifically for controlling Chocolatey through Chef, right? Now, I did a PR into Chef while I was at Chef Conf 2 weeks ago. Okay, so right now, if I go up to here and have a look at Chef. Oh, look at that. So Maurice subscribed as well. Thank you very much, Maurice. I appreciate it. If I go up to here and look at pull requests that were authored by myself. Why is that not working? Oh, no longer supports Internet Explorer. Well, that's great. Okay then. I don't have. Oh, for goodness sake. Let's do it this way then. Let's bring this up instead. GitHub.com chef. Let's pull this up over here then, so that everyone can see it. We'll put it in here. Right. So if I go to pull requests over here, and I look for authors, that is me, then there should be a closed pull request that I created, and that was to add a new resource into Chef specifically for controlling Chocolatey features. So if you wanted to enable or disable a feature through Chef as part of your provisioning of a machine or machines, then that's what I did. So I created a resource. I created this chocolatey_feature.rb, and I borrowed some code from one of the other resources and made it do its thing. So one of the existing resources for Chef for running Chocolatey is the Chocolatey source resource, and that allows you to create a resource for Chocolatey. Now, if we look at what we can do with Chocolatey today, so if I do, let's close this one because I made the other one bigger. So if I go up to here and I do Choco source, then I can see that I have two sources here. I have a Chocolatey source, and here's one I created called Bob. Then I can do Choco source remove name Bob, and that will delete the resource. And then I could do Choco source add name Bob, and then source would be whatever we make it, right? So let's just make the C temp. Okay, so we can remove and we can add. We can do that at the Chocolatey command line. And in Chef today, you can do that today. So you can create a resource within your cookbook, and you can say Choco source. You can essentially say Choco source add or Choco source remove. Now, what you can't do today is some of the additional functions. For example, I could then do Choco source disable name Bob. And then if I do Choco source, then we will see that that source is now disabled. And then equally, I can do Choco source enable name Bob to re-enable it. Now, those things you can't do today via the Chocolatey source resource for Chef. So that's one of the things that I want to look to adding. The other one is that if I go back up to here and say Choco source name source temp, and then with what did I say? Make this an admin only source. Then again in the command line, I can update a source to include the admin only flag. So if I go back over here and look at source, then we'll see that Bob is now admin only true. That again I can't do through the Chocolatey source today in Chef. So I want to try and modify the existing Chocolatey source resource in Chef to include some of those functionality. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to finish setting up my Chef infrastructure so that I have a working system to play with. So what I've done so far is the Chef server is up and running. So Chef server is here, this black box. And then if I go over here and log into so this is the front end website of Chef server. So you don't need the website. You can do all of this through the Chef DK. But in this regard, I prefer a little bit more of a front-end user interface. So I've installed the user interface onto my Chef server. So what I'm going to need to do is I need to bootstrap the server that I want to provision with Chef. So right now, I don't have any nodes in here. So what I want to do is I want to essentially install Chef onto this server so I can then provision things onto it with Chef, and I can then use that as a test bed for what I want to achieve. So the way I do that is with a command that is going to be similar to this. So I'm going to use knife. Knife is a utility tool that Chef uses along the whole food theme, I guess. There's supermarkets, there's chefs, there's there's knife, there's all these things. So a chef knife indeed. So I'm going to use the knife bootstrap command, and it's going to be Windows, and it's going to be done over WinRM, and I'm going to give it the name of Choco Server, which is the name of the server that I want to provision with Chef. And then I'm going to use the highly secure username that is Vagrant with a WinRM password that is also highly secure, which is Vagrant. And then I'm going to give it a node name of Choco Server. So if this command works, what should happen is that over WinRM, Chef will be installed onto that Choco Server. It will then phone home, essentially, and obviously die because that didn't work. Why did that not work? Blah, 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 blah. Did I type something wrong? WinRM password, node name, knife, bootstrap, Windows, WinRM. Oh, WinRM, hold on. It's WinRM user. Let's try that again. And Maurice, you get an extra point for that because you spotted that. Let's run that again. Nope. Please collect the output of this knife. Unexpected error. This may be a bug in the bootstrap WinRM. Why is this not working? Let's take that node name off the end. Vagrant, Vagrant. Oh, this isn't going as well as it was meant to. We are administrator. Please collect the output of this command. Okay then. That was not how that was meant to work. Interesting. So, I can continue, but I'm just a little bit... I won't have anything to test it on. I mean, I can continue making the changes that I want to make, but I won't have the... You know what I mean? I won't have what I want to run in a place that I can run it. So let me have a think. What are you showing me there, Maurice? I mean, so let me explain what I've got here. So the environment that I'm running here is the environment that I ran at Chef Conf 2 weeks ago. And I'm following a script that should work. So the command that I'm trying to type is the one that I used 2 weeks ago to do that. So it should work, is what I'm getting at. Let's just make sure I can ping Choco Server. Can I see Choco Server? Yeah, it's there. Just make sure. Copy. Yeah, it's not going to let me paste it. Let's try one more time. If this doesn't work, I'll just move on. Windows, WinRM Choco server. WinRM user vagrant. WinRM password vagrant. No. Okay. I'm going to leave that and say that I don't really know what's going on there. It certainly should be. I would verify that by going onto here and saying when RM quick connect, quick something. What is it? It's something like that, isn't it? Let me bring up my notes. Chef. Of course, I've deleted it. Oh, there's no slash. That's all it was. Quick config. Is that what I'm doing wrong? Yeah. Where did I get quick connect from? Wonder. I also don't remember seeing any of these warnings when I last ran it. So I'm a little bit concerned that those are showing up. So I guess I can continue, but it just wouldn't, it's not as nice. With what I wanted to do. Let me have a think. Just make sure that some of these other things are installed. This one should be. The other thing this article is saying is that, let's just make sure that everything's set up. I don't recall having to do any of this last time I ran this, but let's just make sure. N equals HTTP and local, where are you going? Local port equals 5985 protocol equals TCP action allow. Okay. I'm not convinced that those are set up. Oh, interesting. You don't have. Oh, what does that mean? You don't have gem Ruby 6.0 in your path. Gem executables will not run. That doesn't sound good. Well, I think we should put that in the path. I think we should put that in the path. Path, edit. I think we should do exactly that. I could have done that, yeah. But Chef gem install knife windows. Because part of me is wondering what may have changed, because this was a fresh installation of these VMs. So I'm wondering what might be different between now and 2 weeks ago when this worked. And I'm going to need to know what the difference is, because I meant to be running this demo again at Chef Conf in London. So I'm going to need to figure that out. Let's see if I get the same warning when this finishes. And if I do, let's see what happens. That looks better. So CDC Chef. So in here, we've got all of those things. So then if we do knife, bootstrap, where did that command go? Knife, bootstrap, Windows, WinRM, Choco server, WinRM, user, vagrant, WinRM, password, vagrant, code, name, Choco server. Still getting those warnings. Oh, hold on. Error. Knife encountered an unexpected error. So at least attempted at that time. So let's try. Let's do one other thing. Let's do knife SSL fetch again. Still getting SSL for that. So at least attempted it. Yes. It's at least trying to do something now where it wasn't before. Uninitialized constant. You know what? I'm going to try one thing, which is to reboot this box. Restart. So Maurice is saying you are creating a client named Choco Server on the server Choco Server. I don't think that's what I'm doing. No. What I'm attempting to do. So this is my Choco Server, and then over here I have a. Let me bring it up. Go away. Go away with all your pop-ups. So I have this thing called a Chef Server, right? And in there I have an admin user called me. If I go in here, then it's created a node called Chocolatey Server, but it hasn't deployed the client onto the machine. That's part of the bootstrapping process, right? So I have a Chef Server, which is this thing, and I have a Choco Server. And I called it that because ultimately what the example scenario that I wanted to use was I wanted to install Chocolatey Server onto that machine. And I have a cookbook that will do that. But what I need to do to facilitate all of that is I first need to bootstrap the Choco Server node onto the Chef Server. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I don't really understand why it's not working. But let's try it again, having rebooted the machine. Because if all else fails, switch it off and switch it on again. So I'm going to cd back into my chef folder, which is here, and I'm going to say knife. And that's the other thing I should check, really, isn't it? The way that knife works is that knife uses a configuration file. Why did that not bring up my folder? Interesting. So, how it works. Okay, you can go away. Don't save. So, let's make this bigger. So, in this .chef folder, there's a knife.rb file. And this is where knife command will use. This is the configuration that the knife command will use to go and figure out where everything is, right? So this is what I'm using, and this is what it's using to try and go to that server, create the node, and then connect over WinRM to hook the two things together, right? So, in theory, if I run that command again, so knife bootstrap, Windows, WinRM, Choco Server, WinRM, user, Vagrant. WinRM password, vagrant, node name, Choco server. See what happens, having rebooted the Chef workstation. Possibly. Across sessions? Ooh, hold on, look. Knifing. So that's now red text. Oh, hold on. That's not right. It's not running it from the right place. So let's close that down and try it one more time. So I don't think it has by default, Maurice. I think you have to install like something like the PS readline module to give you history across sessions. I could be wrong. I should have been running that from here, not from the default PowerShell. Okay, so cd into chef. I have a history, but not for all the sessions. So, knife, bootstrap, Windows, WinRM, Choco server, WinRM user, vagrant, WinRM password, vagrant, node name, Choco server. Don't like all that red. No, I don't like all that text. Oh, don't worry, Kim. You haven't missed anything. I am currently failing to bootstrap a Chef client onto a server. And it's not stopping me from doing anything. I just kind of wanted it to be able to test things out. Let me just do a quick Google for that error. Uninitialized constant knife Windows. Oh, hold on. Oh, that doesn't bode well. There are some errors around this that were fixed in a recent version of Chef. So hold on. Sounds like you've taken a note of what I've been doing all day. Oh dear. Not a good day at the office then, Kim. Choco upgrade Chef. Or hold on. What have I got installed? Choco list local only. I wonder if there's a new package version. I have the Chef DK4 Choco outdated. Is there a new version? No, there's not. So did I install a new version? Let's check that out. I wonder if my vagrant script doesn't actually pin to a specific version, whether I've got a new version since I last played with it. 29th of May. What day are we on? That was like 4 days ago, right? Am I reading that right? 29th May, June. Yes. So I would have had this earlier version installed. I'm going to go and install that and just see if that helps. Uninstall Chef DK. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the previous version and see if that helps. Because it looks like there are some issues on the repository about that. And I don't really want to play with that just now. So 3723. Choco install Chef DK version 3.7.23 is the one I would have had installed when I last bootstrapped this. So let's see if this makes any difference. And keep our fingers crossed. Because like I say, I would like to have a working environment where I could actually push stuff onto it to see if it works. Oh, that's a 400 meg download. It's going to take a while. Any questions about anything related with Chef? I mean, I've at least played with it now. I'm reasonably happy with what it does and how it can be used. The reason that this came up, or the reason that what I'm trying to do came up, was because if I go here and search here for Chef and then look at documentation, then there is this table here, and there's this table that kind of spells out what is supported, what Chocolatey features are supported across the different configuration management systems that are out there. And there's this kind of glaring gap here for Chef support. There's two things that are missing when you compare it to something like Puppet or Ansible. And basically, because I'm going to Chef Conf, I wanted to have two ticks, two crosses in both of those sections. So I've been able to do the managed features one. Now, the reason that there's not an X in here yet is because the Chef client hasn't been updated yet. So there's not a new version that has my pull request in it yet. But once that's out, I will put an X in that box. And what I want to be able to do is put another X in this box for being able to manage the different aspects of a source. And then there are obviously other glaring gaps for some other things here, but I've never played with Salt. I would need to do the same as what I've done here for Chef, which is to set up an infrastructure that would allow me to have that set up to see what that would look like. So that's where I started, and during that process, I you could say that, Maurice, yes. It has also been pointed out, I think I mentioned this in my last stream, was that I'm now a chef who can cook a chocolate cake and sell it in the supermarket. All of these food connotations in my open source career. It's very, very strange and bizarre how it's all worked out. In a bakery, indeed, yes, the cake bakery. It's really weird how that's panned out. I don't go out looking for food related open source projects. It just seems to happen. And maybe with a pinch of salt as well. So yeah, if we go back to this, then the other one that had gaps is Otter. Now I've played with Otter a little bit, but not enough to be able to facilitate the missing changes here. Another one is PowerShell DSC. And again, that's probably one I should be able to play with, but I haven't looked at that one yet either. But if I could get the kind of the Ansibles, the Chefs, and the Puppets all kind of in line, I'd be happy. Which is where I'm trying to get to. I don't think you could. I think you'd probably get arrested if you tried to cook an otter. I think there must be a law against that somewhere. So let's wait for this to finish off and then run that command again, and we'll see what happens. yeah. Not really sure what else to say. This is not the way that this stream was meant to be started. But we'll persevere and we'll see how we get on. So I'm going to close this one again. I can close that one just now as well. And then let's reopen this. Plays annoying tune from the circus. What? The circus. What am I missing there? I feel I'm missing some piece of information. Right. CD into C chef. And then I'm going to run knife. Let me get that command back. I've forgotten it again. Knife. Bootstrap. Windows. WinRM. Choco server. WinRM user. Vagrant. WinRM password. Node name. Choco server. That's not failing with the same output that it was happening before. He says. It's taking longer to fail. You must pass. I did pass a node name. Why did I not have a node name? I do have a node name. Ah, idiot. I forgot, and I got a password. Henna. There's my Doric coming out there. And I got a password. Let's try that again. Dun, dun, dun. I feel I need to click on this YouTube link that Marie sent through as well. Better not be a Rickroll. Circus theme song. Oh, it's just an advert. Skip ad. I can't actually hear it, and I don't actually know if it's coming through. But I'll watch it back and see what comes up. Ooh. Okay, yes, I do want to overwrite it. And I do want to overwrite it. Ooh, this is better. Right, here we go. So it was the Chef DK. The major bump of the Chef DK was failing. Now, that could be that I didn't have the right version of the server, because I might still be installing the older version of that. But what's happening now is it's now provisioning the Chef client onto my Choco server machine, which is what I wanted in the first place. And then it's going to bootstrap it into the Chef server so that they're able to talk to each other, right? So now we're getting somewhere. So we're only 44 minutes in, and we might have something to show. So the sound didn't come through, so I wonder, that was YouTube on my VM, so that might explain why it's not coming through. If I'd opened it in a browser on my host machine, it probably would have worked. So if we go over here to my server, which is this one, let's see what's happening over here. If things are happening, then we should have a new ops code folder being created. Well, we do, look. So that means it's doing something. So this is more promising. So if we can get this working, then I'll have something that I can test on. And that's kind of where I want to get to. So realistically, I think tonight, I've kind of got a hard stop about 10 o'clock. So I've got about an hour and 15 minutes. If I can get to a point where I can get the Choco Source enable and disable working, then I think I'll be in a good position. Ideally, I would have liked to have gotten everything working, but I think realistically, that's not going to happen. So let's see if this works. Ooh. Okay, so now that we have this working, let's have a quick discussion about some of these cookbooks that I have. So I've created this All Nodes cookbook, and in that All Nodes cookbook, in my default recipe, I have included 2 cookbooks. So that is the Chef Client cookbook and the Chocolatey cookbook. So what that's going to do on my Chocolatey server machine, when I assign that to the run list, is it will go ahead and it will install the Chef Client on this machine so that it automatically polls every 30 minutes to say, have you got anything new for me? Have you got anything new for me? And it will also install Chocolatey. So right now, on this machine, Chocolatey is not installed, right? So if I go to my workstation machine, which is this one, and I deploy this cookbook onto the Chef server, I can then assign it to my Chocolatey server machine and then kind of force it to execute that cookbook, and everything will get installed. So if I do that, so if I go over here and I cd into my cookbooks folder and then into the All Nodes cookbook, I can run a command that is burks install. So burks, I haven't really figured out what that is yet, but burks is it's kind of like a dependency management tool, because cookbooks can take a dependency on other cookbooks, and you will kind of bring all those things together. So what burks will do is it will look at the cookbook that I've created, and it'll say, what dependencies do I have? It'll download them all and make them available on my machine. So in this case, it's installing the Chef Client cookbook and the Chocolatey cookbook, and then those have other dependencies which are on cron and log rotate. So having done that, I can then use burks upload, which will take those cookbooks locally from this workstation machine and put them into my Chef server, right? So if I go back over here to where I don't have it there, so let's just go back to this one on the same one. So let's go over here and look at my Chef server. So if I go here and look at Chef server, and HTTPS certificate is a self-sign one, so that's why it's coming up with an error. If I get the right username and password, then I gotta try again. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Third time lucky. So if I look at this one, and it's in policy that I want to go to. So we'll see here that in cookbooks, it's uploaded all of those cookbooks onto my Chef server. So we go back to the command line, then the burks upload as completed, right? All good things are indeed. So now if I go to nodes and I say edit run list for this guy, then currently there are no... Oh, I haven't got any roles. That's the other thing I need to do, sorry. I need to assign roles to match up to those cookbooks. So if I go back to cd up into my roles folder, then I have to run knife role from file and all nodes. So there's kind of a two-step process. There's a cookbook and then there's a role, and you kind of have to link those two things together. So here I'm creating a role called all roles, and then I'm going to assign that role to my Chocolatey server, and then from there I can kind of force those things down onto it. Okay, so having done that, that should finish. There we go. So now if we go back up here and say edit run list, then I can take this role and I can put it over here and say save. So what I'm doing there is I'm onto my Choco server machine, I am assigning that cookbook essentially, right? So if I go to this machine here, then there's no cheating. So currently there's no Chocolatey folder here, right? There's nothing there. But if I bring up a PowerShell window, and then cd into the ops code folder that I spoke about, and then go into the chef folder and then into the bin folder, then we can kind of force the chef client on this machine to check in that first time to get those 2 cookbooks, and then from there it'll poll every 30 minutes. So in here, if I run the chef client.bat file, then it will, at this point, it's phoning home to the chef server, and it's saying, Mr. Chef Server, have you got any cookbooks for me? And then it's saying, well, you've been assigned this new role that is this all nodes role. And at that point, it's going to tempt the installation of Chocolatey, and it's going to tempt the installation of the chef client. So we'll see here that Chocolatey folder just appeared for us, and then it's done. So now, obviously, that session is kind of broken. And then we can, exactly. So now we have Choco installed. So now we've got Chocolatey installed on this machine. Right? So we're good. So at this point, we should be able to start doing stuff. Now, the interesting thing that I found out, because I'm not a Ruby coder at all, right? I don't code in Ruby. But the interesting thing that I found out was that if I go into this ops code folder, now I'm going to have to remember where it was. Let's do a quick search, and then I'll speak about stuff. So Chocolatey source. Ruby is a completely interpreted language. So what that means is that I can just manipulate the raw files on the file system of the chef client and have it do stuff, and then it'll work the next time I run the chef client. Because initially, when I first started looking at this, I was like, well, okay, I'm going to need to make some changes to the source code. I'm going to need to compile something, and then I'm going to have to install that onto the machine to have it work, right? But that's not the case. I can actually just manipulate the files directly on the file system, run the chef client again. It'll take those new files from that file system, interpret them, and then execute the code that's contained within them. So that's how I did the testing of the new Chocolatey feature resource that I added when I was in Chef Conf. All I did was I created a new file in the file system, I added some code to it, and that was it, right? So I'm sure that there's a better way of doing it, but that's kind of how I did it. So what I'm trying to remind myself just now is where on the file system is that file, so I can start playing with it and start manipulating it. So I'm literally just searching the entire folder of the C drive for the Chocolatey _source folder that I know that exists, because that's the one that I want to play with. So it's here. So that's this spec is the kind of the unit testing framework, the file for the unit testing framework. So it's actually this one that I want to play with. So if I go into this file location, then we're in lib ruby gems blah 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 lib chef resource. So right now we don't have that Chocolatey feature resource that I added, but that's okay. What I want to do is I want to manipulate this one to start doing stuff. So to facilitate that, I'm going to do a Choco install of VS Code so that I have an editor that I can play with. I'm going to manipulate that source command, source resource to, oh, look at that. I've got the new beta that's got yes to all in there. Have you guys seen this? So the new version of Chocolatey has the ability to say yes to all when you are installing dependencies. So I can do that, and it'll remember that I want to do it for all of them. It's a new feature. It's in the 14 release. Sorry, yes. I'm getting myself confused. So 14 went out, and then there's a 15 beta out because there was an issue that I fixed. So this all, yes to all, went out in 14. Yes, it did. what was I saying? Ruby and Windows. What is this mad sorcery? The peeing horse there. It's fine, right? It's all good. I'm a complete noob to Ruby, and I understand that installing Ruby on Windows is difficult. The way that I've kind of gotten around that is I haven't installed Ruby on Windows. The Chef DK that I've installed, it actually installs and configures Ruby for me. So I haven't actually had to set anything up. So out of the box, it does everything that it needs, or to make it work. I didn't have to do anything to kind of set that up, right? So all I'm doing now is I'm going to directly manipulate the files on the file system to have it do stuff, hopefully. It did work. So now I should be able to do, if I can cd into this folder that I had here, and cd into here, and I should be able to open up code to this folder. Oh, is that in there now as well? At least that was the change that you made, right? So adding the pre-parameter to the outdated command. Change this so that it is a little bit easier to come through on the stream. And then let's make it a bit bigger. Okay. So if I do Chocolatey source, this is the one I want to play with. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is, right now, there are only two actions. There's an action for remove, and there's an action for add. So I want to add a new one, and that is for disable and for enable. And then I want to be able to specify what that action is in my Chocolatey cookbook that I create. Okay, so this is where I go into, here's one I made earlier, because I don't do Ruby code, right? So if we go and have a look at the Chocolatey resource that I created for the feature, so that's what this thing was. Oh, okay, let's see if it works. So over here, what you're saying is, if I do Choco outdated, and then I put a space in there, Choco outdated is going to come back with none. And if I run -pre, you're saying that oh, look at that. Look at that, Maurice. Your code works. Look at that. It's pretty cool. I'll like it. I hope he did test it, Kim. I hope he did. Where was I? Okay, so I'm going over to, I was here. So I want to look at this file, and I want to view its file. So this is the file that I created that added the Chocolatey feature command. So let's go ahead and copy that and into code over here, and let's just go ahead and put it in. So I'm going to add a new file here called Chocolatey feature.rb, and then into this file I'm hopefully going to paste all that stuff. There we go. So this is the new feature that I created. Now the only way that that will work though is I've got one other change to make so that it can be included, which was to modify the resources file in the lib chef resources. So if I go back up to here, and let's just stay in the chef folder actually, and let's open up code to here rather than where we were. And I look for a resources.rb, which is here. Then in here, there should be some chocolatey things. And if I do that and put in feature, then that should all work. Okay. So if I open up Chocolatey feature and then reopen up Chocolatey source, right? So the way that the Chef client runs is that it only wants to do things when it needs to. It doesn't want to do something unless it has to. So it has this concept of converge by. So the whole, what you're trying to do with Chef is you're trying to converge the server to a point that it's trying to get to. So when I went and did the enable and disable of a feature, if required, I would say converge by running the command, which is to enable the Chocolatey feature. But I would only do that if the current resource's feature state is not the state that I wanted it to be into. So the way that I get the current feature state was to look at the Chocolatey configurations, the chocolatey.config file, the XML file that kind of stores the current state of the Chocolatey system, right? So by using this load current value method, I could figure out what the current state of the feature is and then specify it in this feature state property and then do it or don't do it. Okay, so I can do a similar thing for the source. I can check to see if the source currently is disabled or enabled, and then I can take an informed decision about whether it should be set or not set, right? So all of that being said, let's see what it currently does. So currently there is a load current value function already, so that's good. So what it's figuring out is the XML that it's using is it is looking for the configuration file, which is here, and then it is extracting from that the source ID, where the ID is equal to this thing, and that's what it's returning, and it's returning the attributes of that thing, and that's what's being returned into this fetch source element, and then from element we can get the ID blah 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 blah, right? So if we go over here and do a choco source, then we should only have one, which is that thing. So let's go ahead and add a new one. Choco source add name Bob source C temp. So now we should have two things in there, and we can see that Bob is there, and then we can say choco source disable name equals Bob. Okay, so now if we go into let's get a new one. Now if we go and have a look at the Chocolatey config file, and just to see what that looks like. So C program data Chocolatey config. Let's bring it up here. I probably won't be able to do that there. Let's do Notepad. Let's make this an admin. And where'd it go? There it is. File, open, C, program data, Chocolatey, config, all files. Yeah, with the backup, doesn't really matter. Well, no, it does, because it won't have the value that I want in it. Open, all files, config. Right. So here we're looking for the disabled property. So disabled is true currently. And if we go back and enable it, just to see what it does. Where's that command gone? Choco source. Oh, I'm just going to type it at this point. Enable name Bob. And if we reopen this file, so it was disabled equals true, and I'm hoping it's going to be disabled equals false. And it is. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So if we go back to here, then we want a new property. So if we look at what we did here, and this is the thing that I needed some help on when I was doing the PR. So I created this feature state property, but I actually didn't want them to be able to set that value as part of the resource that they create in the cookbook. So this actually isn't everything that I need. So if I go back to the lib chef resource, so if I go back to the code here and look at lib chef and then resource, and we'll find that Tim, one of the main guys behind this chef client, he actually made a slight modification, which was not there. I thought he'd changed more than that. Give me 1 sec. I thought you changed more than that. Let's look at the history of this file. Is he not pulled it in? Hold on. Author TAS 50. Am I getting myself confused? Bum, bum, bum. No. Is this it? Yeah. Why did that not come in? The original PR got the API shape wrong. Fix incoming. Oh, it's open, look. Let's have a look. Hold on. Make it obvious that this, what was wrong about the way the resource was written before. The desired in the, okay, looks like I got some stuff wrong. So let's have a look. This changes the API from do whatever state enabled. Oh. This seems very wrong. The noun for the case of the resource. Okay. Looks like I've kicked off a discussion in the Chef codebase about how it should be done. So let me just have another quick read and see what they're doing here. So the action, they changed it to set. Oh, I wonder. Oh, I wonder. Okay, I might have to come back to this. Let's just try and get something working, right? And so let's go back to where we were. Fix incoming. So I wonder whether this won't actually make it into the next version of the Chef client. But anyway, let's put this on the end here so that it at least matches what Tim had originally. And then I want to do something similar for the... Oh, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to create a new property. here. And we're going to call this the source state property rather than feature. Source state, blah, blah, blah. And then down in here, I'm going to say source state is going to be element disabled. Right? So that's similar to what I was doing before, but I also want it to be like this. So source state is that is equal to true. Right? And then I can create a new action. So in here, I can then say action disable do end. And we'll give it a description. Description, and we're going to say it disables Chocolatey source with a full stop at the end. And then we'll say if current, have a quick look. Yeah, we want something similar to this. In fact, let's just borrow this. This is the part I may need to go back and change based on the API suggestions that Lamont made. But let's test it out. So if current resources dot feature state, source state, sorry. Trying to dial in with Wi-Fi on the ice train. What's the ice train, Manfred? Trying to dial in with Wi-Fi on the ice. Manfred's on his way to PowerShell conference in PowerShell Europe conference. PS Conf EU, whatever it's called. Current resource dot source state ice equals a high-speed train. I learn something new every day. So if we are disabling, then we want it to be true. So if it is disabled, no, this is the other way. My Boolean logic. Oh, that's a cheer from Manfred there. Thank you very much for my cheer, Manfred. I still need to get my pop-ups popping up. So what we said was that, but now the chef also. That's nice. We said disabled equals true. So we would want it. So this is me coming in to say I want to disable it, and that is setting it to true. So if it is false, so if it's not equal to true, I want to be able to disable it. Correct? I think that's right. So we're going to say disable Chocolatey source, and then new resource is source name. Source name. And then we're going to disable that, right? And then we're going to grab this, and we're going to say copy. And we're going to say enable. Enables a Chocolatey source. If it's equal to true, converge by enable Chocolatey source with the source name, and we're going to pass enable to the Chocolatey command. So the Chocolatey command is this thing here. So we are shelling out to Chocolatey with the source command, Intercity Express. Is that similar then, Kim, to the Flytoget or Flytoget in Norway? If I've used that one. So the action here is what we're passing in, so it's either enable or disable. And you're in Hanover, right? I'm in Germany right now trying to get to PS Conf EU after my connection flight got cancelled as Austrian ICE is well known for German high-speed train. Okay, so we've got 2 new actions there for enable and disable. So in theory, I should be able to create a new cookbook now that has this source in it, and it should do stuff, right? So right now, if I do my choco source command again, then I've currently got a Bob source that isn't disabled. So I want to create a resource in my cookbook that will set that to be disabled, right? So if I go back over here to my other machine, which is this one, then I have another cookbook which was doing stuff. It's called install git, but it doesn't really matter, right? So this is using the Chocolatey package command, but I don't want that. I want to create a Chocolatey source, right? And if we look at what is done over here in this one, then we should see, hopefully, that there is a Chocolatey source. So let's grab this one. And actually, let's do this one. So if I put this source in here, and I say Bob with action disable, right? Then I think it should disable the Bob source on my machine. I think. So let's go back to my knife command here and say knife roll from file install git. That one I was playing with. Install git, yes. Then I'm going to upload this cookbook as is with, so it's still saying installing git, but it's not installing git anymore. I'm just going to abuse the cookbook, right? And if all works, I should then be able to disable the source as part of the execution of that Chocolatey cookbook. And it's either going to go really, really well, or it's going to blow up. So I'm willing to take bets on how well that goes. If we go back up into our cookbooks folder and cd into the install git cookbook, which we're abusing, and if we do a Burks install, Manfred's saying this doesn't seem to work, even though not even in 10p, so I'll try to do something that doesn't require a permanent connection. No problems, Manfred. Have a good conference. I hope you have fun. Say hi to Paul. And if I then do a Burks upload, then that will put the cookbook that is this thing as is onto my Chocolatey server ready for execution. So the only thing I'll have to do is to assign that to the Choco server so that it executes it, and then we'll be able to see what happens. Uploaded that, good. So if we go back up to here and go to the run list again, so we're going to say edit run list, and we are going to pull in the all install git one here, right? I'm not sure if I've done it right, Maurice. So let's see. Not that one. I'm on the wrong server. So back to this server. Let's clear the screen here. And do I have another one open? No, let's have another one open. So if we cd into our C ops code chef bin folder. So let's do a Choco source again, just to confirm where we are currently. So Choco source is giving us Bob is not disabled. So if I run chef client bat file, it'll run off the Chocolatey server and say, have you got any new cookbooks assigned to me? It'll say yes, there's an install git one, and hopefully that cookbook will execute and it'll disable the source. Lots of stuff, checking to see if, oh look, disable Chocolatey source Bob, and then if we run Choco source again. Ha ha! Look at that! Look at that! Oh, you can't see it. So the Choco source for Bob is indeed disabled, and we did that as part of our chef cookbook. So if we go back to our cookbook, which is here, and flip it over, so rather than being disabled, let's make it enabled. But in order for that cookbook to be updated, I need to bump the metadata. So let's do that. And then let's do a Burks upload again. So it's going to rebuild that cookbook as the 011 version, and it'll push that up. And then from there, I can run Chef Client again, and it should then re-enable that source, he says. Uploaded that, and if we go back to here, and let's do a CLS again, this time you might be able to see it. So Choco source is still saying it's disabled, and if I run Chef Client, and again, if I run Chef Client, it should hopefully output enabling Chocolatey source, which it did. So if I clear that and I run Choco source again, then Bob is indeed enabled again. Okay, so I think that works. I'm quite happy with that. Thank you very much for the cheer on that, Maurice. I appreciate it. I wasn't expecting that to work first time, I'll be honest. So that then is Choco source enabling and disabling. Beautiful. So it already had actions for remove and for add. So that's all of the 4 main actions that can be completed as part of a Choco source command. The things that's now missing are I appreciate your faith, good Maurice, because I wasn't convinced, I'll be honest. Right? So if we look again in the Chocolatey source, then there are properties for source name, source, and then bypass proxy, priority, and source state. So some of the things that's missing are admin only and allow self-service, right? So really what we need is two additional properties that will allow us to additionally set some parameters on those things. So I'm going to unashamedly steal this thing, and I'm going to create a new property here called, so I've still got 36 minutes, so we might get somewhere. So this one is going to be admin only, rather than bypass proxy. Whether or not to what do I want to say here? Whether or not to set the source to be accessible to only admins, right? So that one. And then the other one, that didn't work. The other one is going to be allow self-service. And then whether or not to set the source to be used for self-service or not. No. I'll come back to that, right? Documentation is hard, right? So, so again, we want to know things like this to see whether it's actually already set or not. So I'm going to borrow this one. I'm going to put that in there, and put that in there. So rather than bypass proxy, this is going to be admin only. And the actual name is going to be just admin only. So it's going to be only. And then the other one is self-service. So this is self-service. And this here is going to be allow self-service. Default to false. Yes. Yes. I don't see why not. Bypass proxy is false, so they're all false by default. Did I miss something? Which part are you referring to? Are you referring to this true here? Or are you referring to this one here, which is default false? Which one? You're making me think now, Maurice. So, yep, you're happy? Or, yep, I've missed something. So this one here, this is a check. So this is really me just saying, set this local admin only to be true only if the element that is admin only equals true. So this is me setting the value. So this is an assignment in Ruby world. This is me saying, set the value admin only if this expression is true. Perfect. Okay. I didn't get it either. I'll be honest. Right? So having borrowed both of those things, when we come down to the action class, then there's some magic happening here. So by default, the command that we're executing is just the action and then with the name. Because in most cases, so there are 4 main commands that we can run. There's add, disable, enable, and remove. In 3 of those, only the name attribute or the name property is required. So what we only need name when we're enabling, disabling, and when we're removing. It's only when we're adding we have additional things to add onto it. So that's why if the action equals add, we then append some additional stuff onto the end of the command. So blah, 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 blah. If it's an add command, append the source, and then append the priority, and then append bypass proxy if it's set to bypass proxy. So really what I want to do is I want to borrow this, and I want to add in some additional stuff. So if I go to here and do choco source -h, then I want, so it's this one and this one. So I want to add in, they've used the first one. So let's be consistent. So let's just call it allow self-service. Allow self-service. And that's going to be if allow self-service. And the other one is going to be admin only if admin only. That one, I think. So we've added 2 new properties there, which were admin only and allow self-service. Right. So in theory, we have what we need now for adding those additional properties. So that was, we said we had priority. I've got a list here on my bit of paper. So priority was already there, so we did that one. Bypass proxy was already there. We've just added in admin only, and we've just added in allow self-service. Right? So if we go back to our cookbook, which is over here. So again, I'm going to bump the metadata so that we can play with it. And I'm going to borrow what's in the other cookbook again, which was here. I think there was for adding a command, a source, sorry. So let's borrow that one and put it into here. So we're going to add the Bob source. Let's call it the ice source. Sure, I'm okay with that. Let's call it ice, and it's going to go to ice. Chocolatey? Sure, why not? And we want to set, so I'm going to set both of those things on by default. So let's do admin only. But the question is, how do I set that? I might have to refer to the I might have to refer to the documentation here to see how I actually pass that through as a negative. Let's go back to here and say Chef Chocolatey source. Okay, I'll go back and change it in a second. You guys, seriously. Let's have a look at the documentation and see what it says. Ice train localize. Sure. Come on, machine. Why is this taking ages? There we go. So if I scroll down and look at the source documentation, which is this one, then I can just set true, look. Yeah, I don't think it'll, unless we try enumerating that source, Chocolatey won't necessarily care. I think it would be okay, actually. Let's come back to it. So I can just say admin only true then. So you wanted the ice train dot local. Let's do /ice, right? So I'm setting admin only to be true, and the other one that I've just set was allow self-service to be true. Okay, so I changed the metadata, and then I'm going to upload this. I'm going to run it. So if I go back here and I do a Burks upload again, yeah, okay. So I'm going to upload that to my Chef server one more time, and then I am going to run the cookbook again, and we should get a new source get created, and that new source should have admin only set to true and allow self-service set to true. So let's give it a try. So if we go over here and we go back to this one, let's clear this out and run Choco source to show that there's no trickery going on. So we've only got two sources. Those are the two that we were playing with. And if I run the Chef client again, let's see what happens. Let's see. So it's created the add ice source, and it's set source name to be ice, source to be that, bypass proxy to be false, admin only to be true, allow self-service to be true. We do Choco source. Then we have the ice one. We have the URL that's got the ice train.local. Ah, have I frozen? No. Have I frozen? Or is it just my video that's frozen? Can you guys still hear me and see me move? Is it just my OBS that's frozen? Can one of you confirm, please? Hear you loud and clear. Okay, and my video is still coming through? Can see flashing cursor. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll keep talking as though I'm still moving on my screen then. So we've got the ice source. We have that URL. We have bypass proxy set to false. Self-service is true. If I scroll, oh, the other one's not showing up. So the other one's not showing up here. Oh, really? Oh, so my video isn't working. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this out and add this back in, see if that helps. Turned into a statue with an alarmed face. Love it. Love it. Video capture device. Is that better? You can see me now? Carry his wax. Love it. Is that better? And he's back. Beautiful. Right. So the other property that we set is a property that I've thought out. It's a property that's only accessible when you're using the licensed version of Chocolatey. So that's why it's not showing up in the output here. But if we go back to the config file and look at the source of truth, if we go back to this file, Chocolatey config, then we should see that admin only is indeed set to true. But it's not being, that property isn't being read by the open source version of Chocolatey that I've got on this machine. So it has done exactly what we wanted though. So I think that's another success. That's another tick in the box, that is. Okay. So the only, this is a stretch goal at this point. There are 4 other properties that are of interest. But what I don't know is how Chef itself handles it. And those are the passwords. If you're creating a source that requires authentication, then there are 2 modes of authentication in Chocolatey for a source. There is a username and password, or there's a certificate and a password. Now, I could just create those as additional properties, but I don't know how you put them into Chef. If it's just free form, as in you define the cookbook to include the value by default, or whether it can reach out to grab it from an attribute that you specify in the cookbook, so you're not specifying it in directly in the code. So I would need to get some feedback from the Chef guys on how best to do that. So I think I'll leave that part. So there's the certificate password, there's a user, and there's a user password. There are also properties that you can set here. But I'm going to choose to not do those, because I think I have everything that I wanted to do here. So this is actually, yes, Maurice is absolutely correct. I'm a little bit ahead of time here. So I think what I'll do is so there's one other thing that needs to be done here. And the reason I'm hesitating is because of that PR that I saw from Lamont. I need to slow down. That I'm hesitant about the PR that Lamont, what is that? I think that was the guy's name. Lamont raised. I need to freeze again. I may need to write some. So I need to write some specifications. I need to write some tests around this code to see if to make sure that it's exercising it correctly. So I need to do that, but that's something I can do offline. The purpose of this one was really to get the functionality working, which is what I think I've done. So from who have I got in the chat room? So from a Chocolatey standpoint, Maurice, Kim, Manfred, and anyone else who's very familiar with, I think Brett, you're quite familiar with Chocolatey as well. Is there anything else that Chocolatey source needs to do from a setting of the source point of view? I mean, the only other things that Chocolatey source itself does, there are additional functions, but in the context of Chef, they don't make much sense. There's a source list command, but that's not really something that you would do as part of your configuration management setup. So we've handled the adding with all those properties. We've got the disable, we've got enable, and we've got a remove now. So Not really familiar with what is available for sources, so I honestly don't know. That's okay. Set the default source. So that would come through. So Brett, that would come through with the priority. So it is possible to set the priority when you're adding the source. That was already there. So if we go back to here, then there already was a priority specified. So you could, for example, if you wanted to use an internal source before Chocolatey, the chocolatey.org default one. I mean, you could do a couple of things there. One, you could just disable the Chocolatey source and using your own internal one. And then, oh, sorry, that's certainly not what I intended, Brett. I apologize for that. I didn't actually speak about what that was for, but I did know it was there. So if you wanted to switch to your internal source as a higher priority of Chocolatey itself, then you could disable it, and then it would defer to your one, or you could specify the priority. And the priority is, I always get this wrong. If it has a priority 0, then it's the highest one. Is that right? I always get this wrong. It's here. The priority order of the source as compared to other sources. Lower is better. Defaults to 0. All priorities above 0 will be evaluated first. Okay, so that would be it. So by default, Chocolatey source, the Chocolatey has a priority of 0. So if you set anything to be 1, 2, 3, etc., then it would be resolved first before Chocolatey itself. Yes, so as Kim said, 10 default but lower wins. Yes. I noticed that actually. I did actually go and look at the source code for Puppet and Ansible to see what it was doing. And I spotted that they didn't have the certificate. But again, I wondered if that was an implementation detail in terms of where you would get those values from. And I don't know the answer. And there's something there, Kim. The priority ordering, I think, is in the NuGet client DLLs that we're using. I think the priority doesn't always work the way it's intended, but it's one of those things that should be fixed as we pull in the newest NuGet client libraries. So there's certainly something in there. But looks like it's already covered in that. Oh, so Brett's referring to their. I think what Brett's referring to there, because I saw that he was commenting on the RFC. So Steve Lee, is that right? Steve Lee from Microsoft has put an RFC for modifications to PowerShell Get for basically rewriting it. From what I can understand, they're completely moving away from using NuGet.exe directly and re-implementing how things are working there. So there's a lot of stuff happening over there. I haven't read through all of it yet, but it was certainly interesting to see what their thoughts were around that. Maurice is saying, with Puppet, you can copy a file from the Puppet server to your client. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that may be required. And I don't know whether you then just reference it by name or whether that's the part. That's the implementation detail that I'm not sure about there. But anyway, so what I need to do is I need to take this code and I need to put it somewhere first of all. So let's make sure that I've got this code somewhere that I can do something with. So have I got the chef? I don't have it cloned. That's what I need to do before I close off for the day. So let's go ahead and... Oh, but this won't have Git set up, will it? Or will it? Dang it. Choco install Git. And let's... Oh, look at that. There's our ice train local now throwing errors because it's trying to enumerate a source. Is it? I've not heard of Foreman, Maurice. I'm not familiar with that. So that's the web front end for Puppet. I have a working understanding of Puppet, but I also have someone who used to work at Puppet in the team. So he's our source of all good things about Puppet. That's kind of one of the reasons I started looking into the Chef side of stuff, to have a little bit more understanding about how Chef works. Does that mean you have to first learn German, Brett? Or is that what? I'm assuming your native language here is English. Google Translate for the win. Sure. So now if I do a refresh env here, now I should have Git. Beautiful. So if I cd into C, and then I'm going to create a directory called GitHub. I'm going to cd into GitHub, and then all of that. Let's just find the URL for the Chef client. So let's do Chef, and then let's grab this URL and then do git clone. Didn't work. HTTP github.com chef.git. I get the nicht gefunden, but what is Befehl? I'm assuming not found. Object not found? What's Befehl? Command. There we go. Learned something new. That's my standard grade German coming out there. So the files that we've been playing with are Chocolatey source. So that's the only file that I need to borrow from this folder that we were in here. So in here, Chocolatey source, and I'll be able to put that on top of the one that I'm just cloning, which is going to be in here. So where's that clone going? Oh, it's getting there. Okay. Any requests for topics for upcoming streams? Anything that you want to see me try and break? Anything that we haven't covered yet that you think would be good? I have one thing that I'm working on that isn't really ready for prime time yet. So I can't do that one on a stream yet. But failing anything else, there is some outstanding work on a couple of Visual Studio Code extensions that I have on the back burner. So I may go back to doing those. I'm not sure if I want to start playing with Salt yet. I'd rather get this Chef stuff done and dusted before trying to tackle something else. Plus, I know nothing about Salt, so I probably need to do some homework first before tackling that one. Sounds like something that you might be willing to take on, though, Maurice. You want to become the Salt expert in the chocolate community. But no, if there's no other requests, then I might go back to doing some TypeScript with the Visual Studio Code extensions that I have outstanding. One is to finish off that clip image Visual Studio Code extension that we started working on. It seems like ages ago now. Salt is a mineral composed primarily of sodium chloride. There you go. Now I do know. Didn't do chemistry at school. It was never my topic. I did physics instead. I didn't do chemistry or biology. So definitely not my area of expertise. Oh, come on, clone. Maybe we should have cloned this beforehand. I would like to just get this committed into a branch so that I can... I'm actually cloning the wrong thing here. I should really be doing... I'm going to look up a command while that's happening. Git set URL. Git remote set URL. Okay, we'll change that. Are you sure it's not 56K6? What does that mean? Are you talking about like a 56K modem? It's definitely not, because I'm streaming at the same time. So I'd like to think it's not. I think it's just because there's so much in it. Maybe should have done a shallow clone. I remember those days fondly, Maurice. Indeed. You're not old enough to remember dial-up modems, are you, Maurice? I thought you were a youngster. Wasn't my wife at the time. No, it was my mum and my dad. They didn't understand anything about the internet when we first got it. But so it wasn't my wife. You're 35. I didn't have you as old as that. I had you much younger than that. There we go. Learn something new again. So what are you then? So 83? Still hot switching. So I was born in 81. So I'm what? I'm 37. Yeah. 37. Git remote -v. Oh yeah, Maurice, Manfred's still here. He's a youngster. Let me think about what I'm trying to do here. I am trying to get my fork of... I'm trying to get my fork of Chef, so I want that to be the origin. So I'm going to say git. I'm going to say git remote set URL. Git remote set URL on origin to not be this. I want it to be there. If I do git remote -v again, I'll go there, and then I'm going to do git remote add upstream to there. So now I've got remotes in the right way round. There we go. And I'm going to do git checkout -b choco source from master, I think. And then I'm going to go into here. And I'm going to grab this Chocolatey source file. And I'm going to go into lib chef resource. I'm going to paste. I'm going to replace it. I'm going to continue. And then I'm going to do a choco install git extensions. What's it called? Extensions. Something. Fine, we'll do old school. Git status. Yeah, it's just that one file. Fine. So git add star git commit -m will rebase later. There it goes. A great commit message. Then that's going to fail. I knew that was going to happen because I haven't done that setup. So let's just put this in here. Okay. Type, and then put this in. Park. Beautiful. Git commit, and then we're going to do a git push to origin. That's going to fail. Thank you, Kim. It's fine. I literally will be rebasing later, so I'm not too concerned about it. I will need the password, so that I should be able to get from here. I'm not necessarily going to show you guys what that is. And I'm going to grab this, copy the password, and then again, I'm never sure whether I'm meant to show people the two-factor auth code. So I'm maybe going to flip over to this thing. And then we'll come back. Yeah, because depending on if you show them and then the time you can figure out, I think I've heard people say that you can do that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've always erred on the side of caution. You see, that's maybe the actual reason to Kim. Thank you for that. So now, okay, so that's pushed. I have got that up there. And okay, so I think that's all I have then. That is me done for the evening. So I've done some Ruby coding. I've done some creation of the sources and some adding some properties, enabling, disabling, and I think that's it. Yeah. So the environment variable is an interesting one. I've done that once on a stream. I think you were on the stream where I had to then go and reset API token that I had. That wasn't a good day. That was I knew as soon as I was clicking the button that it was a bad idea, and yeah, it went out in the stream. So it got the reset pretty quickly. So I don't think it had any impact. But it's one of those things that you learn never to do again, absolutely. So, okay, I will tidy up that branch and get that submitted as a pull request. I'll need to go back and review that PR that Lamont created over here, because, like I say, I think there is some work that I need to do to incorporate some of the changes that he's got here. Because at the very least he has added some additional specs for the idempotency of the operation, so I suspect I'll need to do some of those for the disabling and enabling of the source that I was doing, or that we were doing as part of that. So that's that. I will get that done. Yeah, that's all I have. If there are any suggestions for topics for streams going forward, feel free to reach out. Probably best by adding an issue to the live streams repository that I have. There's a comment there from Kim. A small tip: to prevent the need to set the git configs every time, you could copy them from your main machine by using the vagrant file provision. Yep, that works. What I typically do, I'll maybe just show this before I go. What I normally do is it's a roundabout way of doing it. Where packages. Which one is my one? Type source. What? Oh, have I moved it? I bet I moved it. This wasn't a quick. I bet I put it over here. I moved a bunch of my repositories around. Yeah, that was my same thought. I know absolutely what you're saying, Kim. That makes sense. Normally what I do is I have everything in a Chocolatey package. So this is my entire Git. This is my typical Git config. So I just do a choco install get 13 Git config, and it sets everything up for me the way I need it, including my diff tools and all that sort of stuff. So I'm wondering though. So that the command as you've given it, interesting. Oh, that should work. Yes. The reason I was hesitating was that typically I'm doing a vagrant up from my Mac machine, so the path that you've shown there might be slightly different on my Mac. But yes, absolutely. Sure. Yes. No. Absolutely. No. I get exactly what you're saying. I think I don't have that at the minute on any of this vagrant ups. No, it's sharing folders because that's how I was getting. So there's a mapped folder which is pulling some files through. So this no, on my other machine, then these folders are all coming from the host operating system. Cool. I will give it a try because yeah, that makes sense. Because typically I would have the host machine that I'm running from would have my git config on it. So no, absolutely, that makes sense. Okay. Oh, Kim, while I have you, I was contemplating doing a quick introductory video on your new Yeoman generator. Would you have any objections to me doing that before I put some effort into it? I think it would be good to show it in operation and show how you can use it to get started with a new cake edit. Cool. Okay, so I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I would like to get that up as a resource video on the cake website, if you have no objections to that. And I'll maybe get you to what's the word? Review it before I put it anywhere. I'll let you know when I've done that. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you all for. So, I would like it, but I've spoken to Kim about this before, and the answer was no. I don't know whether that's changed, Kim, or not, but you would be more than welcome to come on stream and have a chat about that if you wanted to. But I know we've spoken about this before, and you weren't keen. Let's put it that way. Yeah, that's what I thought. But no, I will let you know when I've got a video somewhere, Kim, and I'll get you to review it if that's okay, and we'll get it up on the Cake website because I think it'll be really useful for people. So, thank you all for coming, and I will hopefully see you on Friday in the lunchtime stream, and we can speak about something on that one, and we can go from there. Right, I'm going to say good night and bye-bye.